G'day mate, and welcome to part 2 of the Asian Cup preview. In today's video I will be previewing groups D, E and F before predicting who I think will go through. So let's just get into it. Group C, we have Iran, Iraq, Vietnam and Yemen. Iran, according to the FIFA rankings, are the best team in Asia. They are placed 29th, 12th placings ahead of the current champions Australia. Iran overperformed at the World Cups. They were favourite to finish bottom of their group but beat Morocco, lost only 1-0 to Spain, and drew with Ronaldo's Portugal. Iran's defence has been on really good form, only conceding 4 goals since the start of the World Cup, playing brilliant opposition like Spain, Portugal, Morocco, and solid South American teams like Bolivia and Venezuela. Alizera Jahanbakhsh has been selected in the Asian Cup squad, but will have to recover from a hamstring injury, which he has been suffering for 52 days, missing 9 games for Brighton. However, if Alizera can't recover, Sardar Azmoun should be quality substitute. Sardar plays for Rubin Kazan in Russia, and although he hasn't been prolific with his club, he has scored 23 goals in 39 games for Iran. Iran are backed by both the FIFA World Rankings and betting odds as equal $5 favourites with Japan and South Korea. Australia are in second at $8. Iran should be able to make it through this group without even breaking a sweat. Iraq are favourites to come out of this group second, and by looking at their recent results, you can see why. Iraq have only lost twice in 90 minutes this year, and that was against Qatar and Argentina. They did lose against the UAE, but that was on penalties after they held them to a 0-0 draw in the Gulf Cup semi-finals. So although Iraq don't have the same quality Iran have, they come into this Asian Cup high on confidence. Fun fact, Iran are worth more than 10 times Iraqi national team are worth, according to transfermarket.co.uk. Iraq have played Saudi Arabia twice, winning 4-1 and drawing 1-1. They played Palestine 3 times, winning twice and drawing once. Iraq also beat China, as well as drawing with Syria, Kuwait and Bolivia respectively. Ali Adan is Iraq's best player. The left back has made 7 appearances with 4 starts for the 8th placed Italian team Atalanta. Although Iraq aren't the best team in Asia, they are head and shoulders better than Yemen and Vietnam, so Iraq will need a major stuff-up to not qualify for the round of 16. Vietnam are next, and I don't have much hope that they can finish in the top 2. Vietnam are 100th in the world rankings, which is 35 places better than Yemen, but it's also 22 positions worse than Iraq. This is Vietnam's first Asian Cup since 2007, when they made the quarterfinals, and Vietnam's form's good, but they've played relatively weak teams compared to Iran and Iraq. Vietnam can't even beat bottom place Somaliland in the K-League 2, so not even the first division. What hope do they have of beating the best team in Asia? Trong Hoan Nhong will have to do well for Vietnam to cause an upset. Trong is very versatile and can play as far back as centre-back and as far forward as attacking midfielder. However, he usually operates as like a right-sided attacker or midfielder. Everyone loves an underdog, and so do I. I would love to see Vietnam do well, but the odds are against them, and they'll have to play really, really well if they want to finish in the top 2. Title of worst ranked team in the competition is an unwanted name, and unfortunately for debutants Yemen, that is exactly the title they hold. The debutants Yemen have only played 3 games in 2018, losing to Saudi Arabia and the UAE, as well as defeating Nepal. That win against Nepal was their first win in 364 days, and Nepal are ranked 361st in the world, so a win should have been expected. Yemen's best player is Mohamed Fuad Umar, who plays for Al Ahly in the Qatari Stars League. He is captaining Yemen into a campaign devoid of expectations, but maybe that's a rare positive for Yemen. I mean, if they aren't expected to do well, there will be no pressure, which means it might allow Yemen to play freely and maybe sneak an upset. Unfortunately for Yemen, they've had a few cancelled friendlies against Tajikistan and Palestine, but they will play Syria tomorrow on the day of writing this. I don't have much hope for Yemen. In a tough group, in their debut campaign and ranked by FIFA as the worst team in the competition, Yemen have a big mount to climb if they even want to get a point in this group. So how will this group go down? Like I said earlier, the group stage should be a cakewalk for Iran. They should top it, the group, without dropping points. Iraq are second, they're just too good for Vietnam and Yemen, honestly. Unfortunately for Yemen, they won't provide any shocks as they finish bottom, and Vietnam finish above them in third. So Iran first, Iraq second, Vietnam third, and Yemen fourth. Group E houses North Korea, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and the host of the 2022 World Cup, Qatar. John Anderson qualified North Korea to the Asian Cup, but the former Norwegian striker stood down due to problems with the state. Now, Kim Yong-jung, the former national team player who was in the 2010 World Cup squad, is the manager of North Korea. Most of North Korea's squad play in the domestic league, like captain Ri Myung-guk, who plays for Pyongyang City. Ri has 120 caps, including the game he played against Saudi Arabia when he kept the clean sheet and qualified them for the 2010 World Cup. Although most of the players are playing in the North Korean league, 35% of the squad plays overseas, like John Il-gwan, who plays for Luzern in the Swiss Super League, but is currently on loan at FC Ville in Swiss 2nd Division. North Korea could do alright, but I doubt it, as 3 out of their last 4 Asian Cups they haven't even made it out of the group. The other time they came 4th, but that was in the 1980s. Host of the 2022 World Cup, Qatar qualify for the first time in their history for the World Cup and have 2 major competitions in the next 3 years to look forward to and prepare for the World Cup. The first of these is the Asian Cup, and Qatar are one of 5 teams with no players playing outside of their own country. Hassan Al Haydos is Qatar's best player, scoring 16 goals in his last 4,752 minutes of play for the national team. Qatar have only lost once all year, and that was against Uzbekistan. Qatar have beaten quality countries like Switzerland and Ecuador while drawing with Iceland. Almoez Ali Abdullah is a young player to keep an eye on. He started the last 4 games for Qatar and led Qatar to a famous victory against Venezuela, scoring 2 goals and getting 2 assists in their 4-3 win. Almoez is also in good form with his club, scoring 5 goals in his last 10 appearances for Al Duhail. We've seen many young players make a name for themselves in the Asian Cup, for example, Mas Longo. Maybe this is Almoez Ali Abdullah's big moment. While there is controversy around how the 2020 World Cup will be run on the football pitch, there is a lot of positivity around Qatar, and they could turn themselves into an Asian powerhouse and dethrone the likes of Saudi Arabia and China as football powerhouses. Cedars, aka Lebanon, have been given a tough group for this Asian Cup. Lebanon come into the Asian Cup not winning a game since September against Jordan. Their history against the teams hasn't been the greatest either, playing the Saudis 9 times, losing 4, drawing 3 times and only winning twice, drawing once and losing 7 times against the Qataris in 8, but they do have a good history against North Korea, facing them 6 times, winning 4 and drawing twice. Their history in the Asian Cup isn't as positive as they would have hoped either, as it's the first time they've qualified properly after hosting the tournament in the year 2000, giving them automatic qualification. In that tournament, they didn't even get past the group. A positive, however, is that 21.7% of their squad plays in a foreign league, which means their talent is developing enough to move to other countries. Although Hassan Mantouk is not one of these players, he is still a very great player. He plays for Al Nejmeh and is a versatile captain who can play left wing, right wing, and striker. This might be Lebanon's best chance of getting past the group, as some are calling this group of players Lebanon's golden generation. If Lebanon were placed in an easier group, I could have seen them qualifying, but they might have a difficult time getting to the round 16. But hopefully, the golden generation can complete that task. The last team in Group E is the Saudis. Saudi Arabia are another team that overperformed at the World Cup. When I say overperformed, I mean they won 1 game against Egypt, even though they shouldn't have. However, Saudi Arabia have given good accounts of themselves against great teams like Brazil, Uruguay, Bolivia, and like I said earlier, Egypt. Before the World Cup, the Green Falcons found themselves beating teams like Greece and Algeria, so although Saudi Arabia, air quotes, underdogs compared to South Korea and Iran, they could go far in this tournament. They found themselves in the position of underdogs or best of the rest before. They weren't expected to qualify automatically for the World Cup ahead of Australia or Japan, but they did that anyway. Saudi Arabia are 3-time runners-up and 3-time champions, but recently they've underperformed, not making it out of the group stage in the last 2 Asian Cups. Yasser Al-Sharani is Green Falcons' best player, and hasn't missed a match since their 4-1 loss against Iraq. He has helped keep Saudi's defence stable against quality opposition, and to get far they will need him to perform. Can the best of the rest, or Saudi Arabia, win the Asian Cup for the first time since 1996? How will this group go down? I think Qatar will surprisingly top the table, and then I think the experience of the Green Falcons in Saudi Arabia will probably finish second. Lebanon should finish third, and North Korea fourth. So, Qatar first, Saudi Arabia second, Lebanon third, North Korea fourth. Last group in the Asian Cup consists of Japan, Turkmenistan, Oman, and Uzbekistan. Japan, the favourites in this group, have 3 international tournaments this year: the Asian Cup, the Kirin Challenge Cup, and the Copa America. Japan hold the record for most Asian Cups won in history, winning 4. Since the end of the World Cup, Japan haven't even lost a game. Japan will be hoping to put the disappointment of the 2015 Asian Cup behind them after they were knocked out by the UAE in the quarterfinals on penalties. Japan's squad is brilliant and experienced, with players like Hiroki Sakai, Masaki Higashiguchi, and captain Maya Yoshida. A big talking point about the selection is the fact that star Shinji Kagawa has been left out of the squad. Although Kagawa has failed to get first-team football in Dortmund, it is undeniable he is one of Japan's best players. But Japan should have young players willing to prove themselves as starting players like Muto Takumi Minamino, Ritsu Doan, and Koya Kitagawa. So even without Kagawa, Japan should be able to get through to the next round quite easily, and in my opinion, out of all the Asian powerhouses, Japan have the easiest group. This is the second time Turkmenistan have qualified for the Asian Cup. The last time they didn't even get out of the group, so they will want to improve on that performance. Arsalan Murat Amanov, the captain of Turkmenistan, plays for Bukhara in the Uzbekistan Superliga. The 28-year-old has scored 4 goals and given out 5 assists in his last 16 games. Turkmenistan have only played 2 games in 2018 and have a 50% win ratio after beating Afghanistan and losing to Bahrain. Turkmenistan started the competition playing Japan before facing Uzbekistan and Oman. Turkmenistan are the lowest ranked team in the group, being placed at 127th, 32nd place off closest competition Uzbekistan. So there isn't much expectation around the side. Maybe the Emeralds can get their first win in Asian Cup history this time around. Oman's Asian Cup history is nothing great, only winning twice out of 9 games they've played across 4 campaigns. Ahmed Mubarak Al-Mahajiri will be hoping to add to the record amount of caps he already has, 160, while he can, as he's already 33. From midfield, he scored 20 goals for Oman and will be looking to lead Oman out of the group and make this campaign historic. Oman have lacked the ability to score goals, except that one game against Brighton where they won 14-0, but still don't lose very many games. Oman won a very good unbeaten run until they were beaten 5-0 by Australia very recently. So Oman can scrape results, and that could be a very important ability to have in a group this tight, and Oman will be looking to be fighting off Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan for a place in the round of 16 and start the campaign off to Uzbekistan, which is a good thing as they have much more chance of getting a result than Turkmenistan do against Japan. Maybe Oman can make it to the round of 16, but who knows. The last team in the Asian Cup is Uzbekistan, and since the year 2004, Uzbekistan have gotten out of the group in every single Asian Cup, so they will hope to continue that tradition in the UAE. Uzbekistan have gone as far as 4th only 8 years ago in Qatar, and have a very good history against Turkmenistan with a 77.8% win rate, but have poor win rates against Japan with 10% and against Oman with a 20% win rate. Odil Ahmedov is Uzbekistan's best player at the moment and is captain of his national team. Odil played 23 games in 2018 for the Chinese champion Shanghai SIPG. Rashidov is also one of Uzbekistan's best players at the moment, but although he has been selected in the Asian Cup squad, he is still recovering from an injury which has plagued him since October 2018. Uzbekistan, according to FIFA, are the 3rd worst team in this group, but will hoping to get through nonetheless. How will the final group go down? Well, I think Japan will top the group, and although Uzbekistan are the 3rd worst team according to FIFA in this group, FIFA rankings of course, I think they'll get through in 2nd, while Oman finish 3rd and Turkmenistan, the Emeralds, bottom. So Japan 1st, Uzbekistan 2nd, Oman 3rd, and Turkmenistan in 4th. Alright, so I've just gone through the whole tournament and how the knockout rounds will go if I'm 100% correct, and the results are as follows. China beats Thailand, Australia beats Bahrain, Japan beat Saudi Arabia, South Korea beat Jordan, and Qatar beat Iraq. The UAE beat Oman, and Syria beat Uzbekistan in the round of 16. In the quarterfinals, Iran beat China, Australia will beat Japan, South Korea beat Qatar, and the UAE beat Syria. So in the semis, South Korea knocked the hosts out, UAE, and unfortunately, as much as I'd love to say Iran beat Australia, Australia beat Iran, Iran will beat Australia, setting up the final of South Korea versus Iran, and I think South Korea will win that. Top scorer in the comp will be Omar Al Samar, and as he leads Syria to the quarterfinals, and the breakout star will be Jordan's Musa Al Tamari, leading Jordan to the round of 16. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and bye.